Hey folks, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Today, let's talk about game pillars. I had a question around how to make pillars that are useful, approaches that I've taken, ways that I've seen them play out. So I figured it was worth covering it. If you're not sure, game pillars are kind of meant to be these guiding lights. They're meant to be statements that create alignment across the team on what the game is or how to make decisions on a day-to-day basis. They probably come from, like company mission statements or company goals. For example, at Blizzard, one of the goals was every voice matters, right? Or we had the design pillar of avoid the grand reveal. This all is intended to create patterns of positive behavior. And so game pillars are meant to be sort of the same thing. They're meant to be something that people on the team, especially larger teams, can use when making decisions or working on a feature in order to ensure that the game comes along and feels cohesive at the end of it. It doesn't feel like a smattering of different features all working towards a variety of different intent or goals. One of the biggest challenges of making games is that you have all these wonderful, highly talented creative people coming together. And if you can't align them around the creative vision, then you end up with 70 different creative visions all in the game, all at the same time. And you end up with kind of a higgledy-piggledy mess. So that's what pillars are meant to do. They're meant to sort of support or at least attempt to solve the problem of aligning all those creative people around that vision. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can phrase these pillars. You can use emotive statements, or you can say this is the feeling that players should have. They can be more narrative oriented, like they can describe the story that gets told. For me, the kinds of pillars that I've found to be most useful are the ones that describe an outcome, the ones that describe a player behavior or something that the player is doing. And in fact, the more discrete that it can become, the better. So, for example, a good pillar might be players play the game for 30 minutes at a time. That is something which is very identifiable, it's very recognizable, and you can really hang your hat on. There's no question about that. It's like, well, yeah, players, a session length is 30 minutes at a time. The other thing that these pillars, the ones that I've found that are good, tend to do is they allow enough room for the developers working on the game itself to fill in a lot of the gaps. So going back to that pillar of players play the game for 30 minutes, well, what they're doing in that 30 minutes is entirely up to the developer. It doesn't have to be, oh, and they're running dungeons and they're doing this, or they're always questing, or anything along that kind of line. It allows the developer themselves to fill in a lot of the gaps along the way with their creative content. Some other examples might be players should receive a reward every session. Now, there's another way that you can phrase that. You could say the game is very rewarding. But which of those two are easier to be confused by as an individual creative developer working on the project? Now, the game is very rewarding can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For example, someone who loves playing Diablo could mean, well, then I get my perfect set of gear every time I play, because to me, that's what is rewarding. Another player who is much more interested in the narrative ability of, say, a Disco Elysium, they might infer that, like, well, it's rewarding because I get to craft my own path through the story. See how that can be inferred in very different ways? So the more concrete your examples can be, your pillars can be towards the outcome that you're wanting to accomplish, then I think that they're more effective in that way. So going back to it, players, every session length is 30 minutes. Players receive a reward every session. Well, then that's pretty clear. Every 30 minutes, players are going to receive a reward. What that reward is, we don't know. That's probably something that needs to be discovered. But at the end of the day, that allows them to, the developers, to know, okay, they're playing for 30 minutes, and every time that they're playing the game, every time that they're sitting down and playing the game, they're getting something from this. They're feeling a reward. And then, that's because we want them to come back again and again and again. Another one could be, we will let players break the game. Slay the Spire actually does this. You can totally break the game. There are builds in that game that allow you to break it. And if that was one of the pillars for it, that would make a lot of sense. Now, it wouldn't make a lot of sense if it was also not known that the game was a deck builder. Then there would be too much confusion. So these pillars, by defining them as outcomes and player experiences, they become very valuable to someone making a decision on a day-to-day basis. Just saying, I've seen a lot of pillars that are like, the game is very social. Okay. Like, so many games are social. What does that even mean? Is it like social in the fact that I can share stories with my friends about it after we play? Like, my son plays like a ton of different games with his friend. They don't play the games together. In fact, some of the times, like, he's been playing Ultra Kill lately, he just streams Ultra Kill to his friend, and his friend just watches him play Ultra Kill, and they talk about it while he's doing it. Well, that's social, but that might not be the kind of social that you're looking to accomplish. A better example of a pillar here might be that 4 close friends play together on a weekly basis. That's something that you can actually construct something around. You can build something towards that pillar. So, big takeaway there. I find that the pillars that are most valuable are the ones that are outcome oriented, that describe an outcome that you want the player to actually feel, to actually have engagement with, something that you want the player to do. One last thought, pillars, it feels like a very strong word. I believe that pillars should be malleable. They should be revisited on a regular basis. Game development is full of a number of different phases, and each phase, ideally, you're trying to clear up the path towards the end. And the closer that you get to the end, the clearer the end goal looks. In prototyping or pre-production, those pillars that you had in prototyping, they might change by the time you get to production, and that should be okay. The way I think about them now is opposed to pillars, which feel like these Greek columns, that are set in stone and that will last forever, or that are the foundation of everything and that they last forever. I try and think of them more as ingredients in a recipe. And those ingredients can shift and change over time as you figure out what makes up your meal, like what makes for a good recipe. So, just to summarize, pillars are meant to be these guiding lights. I believe that the more valuable types of pillars are the ones that describe an outcome that you want the player to have, and also that they should be malleable. Think of them more as ingredients in a recipe rather than these concrete things that are set in stone and can never change, because that can block you in too much. I hope you found this valuable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.